What is up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. We're playing some more F1 22, this time around Austria. Big thanks to EA and Codemasters for giving me this opportunity to record the game early. And I just want to say this race was really enjoyable. Out of all the races I've done so far, had a blast doing this one. Today we're going to be doing a race as Fernando Alonso, sprint race included. And we're going to be taking on 110% AI, starting from the back, trying to get as close to the front as possible. We're going to be trying to do the last to first challenge if we can, that is. And we're just going to edit the front tire pressures just a little bit so that we can get more tire temps, especially during the formation lap. You want to make sure you get those tires up to temperature. And I just found that the fronts are a little bit harder to get up to temperature than the rears. The main differences in this circuit is only really the billboards changing color to different sponsors. You got the BWT signs heading down the second straight.
But we need to learn the gears, so go into each one when you can. We're going to need some work on the brakes, so put some energy into them and warm the tires as well, please.
Thanks for that, Mark. We're pulling up to our grid slot now. I've actually started to get the hang of this, and it's a little bit further back than you would expect. They usually use the yellow line, but it's a tiny bit further back than the yellow line is where you need to stop. So that's where you should aim for when you're trying to do the manual grid formation. 5 lights here for Austria. Sprint race, 12 laps around this awesome circuit, one of my favorites. Try to go up the inside of Albon, gets covered off. Brilliant defending from Albon. Love to see that from the AI. Whole bunch of new racecraft from these new AI, and that's what you want to see for single player because they are a whole bunch more realistic. We've worked our way up one position in front of Latifi. Next up is Stroll. We're going to try and dive bomb as many people as possible going into this heavy braking zone into what is turn 3 or turn 2, depending on if you count the kink in the middle of that straight. We've got Vettel and Zhou in front of us. We made a bit of contact with them going through the apex of the tight right hands up, but no damage done there. Nice late braking. We're going to try and sneak through if possible following Zhou. We're going to activate the ERS button. Vettel seems a bit vulnerable here, so we're going to turn to the inside, turn to the outside to have a look around the outside of Zhou and Norris as well. The AI battling so much, it's holding them all up, and it's going to disadvantage them all, but you know, I'm in no position to complain. We're going to be attacking Albon all the way up into what is going to be now P13 on our first lap of the sprint race. So not only do we get the sprint race to make our positions, but we'll also have a 50% race after this, starting wherever we finish in the sprint. And it's Ricciardo up next. We're on lap 5. It did take me some time to catch up to Ricciardo. Keep in mind that this is 110 AI. I'm in an RP and it's not the fastest car on the grid. It's realistic performance. And we're going to send it up the inside of probably the heaviest braking zone. But you can actually brake pretty late there as it is an uphill corner. But we get the job done up into P12. And we've got a yellow flag. There's a Ferrari that spun around there. I'm not entirely sure if that was helped or not. But as you can see from the replay, he's just dropped it on his own. So not only do the AI have better racecraft, but they also make mistakes. So they're not just big brain. And straight after this incident, I had to let Schumacher back through. But when I was messing with the replay cameras and I was letting Schumacher back through, one of the times I accidentally let Ricciardo back through. But what I want to point out here is Ricciardo's seating position. Now, does this mean the AI will give you a position back if they overtake you illegally? I don't entirely know. I don't think this was in the previous year's game. So if the AI will return the position after overtaking illegally, then, you know, that's a pretty decent addition to the game. But we're all over the back of Schumacher. We had to give him the position back, but we're going to try and take it straight back from him going into the heavy braking zone of turn 3 here. And pretty standard move. We're just gonna get our elbows out, try and make as many overtakes as possible early on. Bottas is up next. We've got some yellow flags. I'm not entirely sure what happened there, even looking through the replay cameras. I missed it. But Bottas making another error. That's the second race on this channel where Bottas has made an error right in front of us, and we've managed to take the position nice and easy. Tsunoda's up next, and this was a massive send into turn 3. Once again, getting on the power quite nicely, so that way Tsunoda can't retaliate. And Max Verstappen setting the fastest lap of the race as we conclude the sprint race on lap 12. And I gotta say, not a bad result coming from the back of the grid to P8. That's where we will be starting for the Grand Prix race. And we actually snag 1 point from the point system in the sprint race because we did finish in 8th place. But I'm more looking forward to starting in 8th place because that's a whole lot better than starting from the back of the grid. And we made a lot of progress in that short amount of time. Next up is a one-stop strategy race. So mediums to hard tires. Once again, manual formation, and I'm starting to get, you know, into the groove of these manual formations and also the pit stops. I'm getting into the swing of things. And while we're on the topic, I thought I might also mention that if you don't get it quite right, you might get a green box. It'll come up green, so that means you did a good job. But if you get purple for this grid formation, it means you absolutely nail it. If it's orange or red, it means you're going to be teleported back like at least a meter. But once again, we got purple. That's exactly what you want, and we're hopefully going to get off to a better start. I noticed we've been getting better starts here in Austria. I think that might be because we're getting better tire temperatures into the tires during the formation lap. But it's 5 lights. And away we go for the Austrian Grand Prix, the actual race this time. And we get past 2 cars already up the inside of Perez. Russell's on our outside going into turn 1, so we're going to dive bomb him as well. Make sure we don't collect the back of our teammate Ocon. And we are already up into P5 for this race. We've got our teammate in front of us, so we'll be looking to make a move on him as soon as possible. We've got absolutely no excuse to not be faster than him as he's in the same car. He's actually making a move on Hamilton right now. And it does in fact look like Hamilton's going to get some better traction out of that corner and gets in front of Ocon yet again. But while all this is happening, we're going to try and make a move on Ocon if possible. We can't sneak up the inside there. He's pretty much covered that off, and we're not close enough alongside him to even think about it really. What about the outside? Nah, definitely not. He's carrying too much speed. But there might be a little bit of a weakness through this high-speed left-hander, and we're all over the back of him. If we deploy some ERS, we've got the opportunity to go up the inside of Ocon, and it looks like we're going to get the move done going into the penultimate corner of this circuit. And Hamilton is up next for the podium positions. Max Verstappen currently leads the race with the fastest lap of the race. And from here on out, the progress is going to be very difficult because we've got Verstappen, Sainz, and Hamilton ahead, all in faster cars than ourselves. So it's going to be very difficult. Virtual safety car deployed. I don't think we have the opportunity to really pit. I think it's a bit too early in the Grand Prix at this point. Going from mediums to hards, we'd be trying to target closer towards the middle of the race if possible. So we'll stay up and hopefully full safety car will come out later on, and then that way we'll be able to make the most of that. Virtual safety car ending, it's lap 5. We've still got plenty of time to try and somehow make up this gap to Hamilton. Being held up by Ocon just really hindered us because it prevented us getting in the DRS zone of Hamilton, who is now just managing to stay with Sainz. And this is another retirement, it looks like, for Gasly, a mechanical failure. So another retirement for this Grand Prix. It's lap 12, and as you can see, Hamilton and Sainz just creeping away. The car performance just isn't there for me to be able to compete with these guys right now. And Sainz has made a mistake. There's a safety car, I think. We're going to slow down to match the Delta, but we've picked up a freebie there. I couldn't really figure out why Sainz spun, but it looks like he was on his own. Looking at the replay camera there. So next up is Verstappen and Hamilton, and if anything goes by history, we know that there's all the possibility for some incident to take place if those two get close to each other. Both of them are going into the pits, and we're going to follow them as well. We can speed a little bit and cheese the system going into the pits with the Delta because we've got to slow down anyways for the pit lane. See that big blue box? Make sure you click the button or the turn in on the steering wheel as you go into that big blue box, and then you'll nail the correct turn-in time. That'll give you the optimal pit stop time. If you miss it, you'll be a little bit slower by a few tenths of a second. And we're heading out back onto the track. It looks like we're going to merge back into about 6th place here behind Norris, who I don't think has made a pit stop. These guys in the mediums haven't made that stop yet. And one thing I wanted to notice, because Hamilton was now ahead of Verstappen, and that confused me a bit. So I wanted to check the race director, and they both, in fact, have made their pit stops. So Hamilton has somewhere made the overtake. I'm not sure if it was on track just before the safety car came out, or if it was during the pit stops as like itself, and Hamilton had a better pit stop phase. But we're getting a good exit and a good run up coming out of the last corner onto Norris, and we're going to try and overtake him straight away. We need to clear these cars as soon as possible to get onto the back of Verstappen and Hamilton. Schumacher's up next. He of course hasn't made his pit stop, and Leclerc in front of him also hasn't made his pit stop. And it looks like he's got a 5-second penalty. I have no idea why. I'm not sure if he's jumped the start or something, or if he's made contact with another driver. I'm not sure what else would give you a 5-second penalty. But yeah, we need to get onto the back of Schumacher. Actually, Perez is out of the race. So it is to be said that he wasn't really having a great race to begin with. Yeah, that's another retirement. We're down to 18 drivers. And we'll be looking to keep these tyres in good nick to the end of the race, because tyre wear does seem to be high, not just at this circuit, but if you go check out the previous videos in Miami and Britain, you'll find that there's a lot of tyre wear there as well. And Schumacher making a mistake, and that's given us pretty much a free position there, but he would have gone into the pits anyway, I believe. And Leclerc dives into the pits as well. It's a little bit awkward when people are diving into the pits and you're trying to take the racing line through that corner, but nevertheless we navigate them quite all right. Hamilton's still ahead of Verstappen. I thought Verstappen probably would have made the overtake by now, and he's actually gone into the pits. I have no idea why Verstappen's gone into the pits, and my only logical explanation, because the AI didn't pit either, is that he's made contact with Hamilton and most likely probably broken his front wing and has gone into the pits for replacements. That's the only logical explanation I can come up with. But we've got some bigger concerns at the moment, because the driver in the red, that other Spaniard, has overtaken us, and there's not much we could have done about it. So, as a fellow Spaniard, being Alonso, we're going to try and tuck into the DRS and slipstream of Sainz if possible. He's got a faster car, so I really want to get him to give us a tow onto the back of Hamilton, and then that way I hope something like a safety car, or at least getting onto the back of those two, will give us a better opportunity of completing this last and first challenge. Because right now, having these cars that are, you know, a fair bit faster than the Alpine, we're going to have to rely on something to do with AI having mistakes or some strategy. And weather's not going to play a role in this, because I believe I set it to clear weather. Maybe I should have had a dynamic weather setting. That would have made it interesting, but we've got to do this on pace. And right now it's not looking good, because I got a really poor exit coming out of turn 3, and we've been left behind by what is the fastest car on the track, and Sainz is going after Hamilton now. So our only hope right now is if Sainz starts the battle with Hamilton, but he will need to catch up to him in the next few laps for that to start taking effect. That's our only hope, because they're a bit too far ahead. Another virtual safety car. Mark, our new engineer, is saying that it's because there was a high build-up of debris on the track, but I didn't see where the incident took place or who was involved in that one. And here we go again. Safety car ending. It's important to try and keep that delta as little as possible, so that way we can close onto the back of the cars in front. Just as a little bit of an advantage, but it pretty much stays the same. Hamilton and Sainz dueling it out now. This is for the lead of the race, lap 31 of lap 36. And so we've got another yellow flag, but we go back to green and resume normal racing conditions. There's not much we can do in this position, but hope for the best. Maybe they have some misfortune and get some damage, but apart from them having some misfortune, we do not have the pace, unfortunately, today to compete for the win. And lap 33 of lap 36, Hamilton has gotten back in front of Sainz somehow. I just thought that the Ferrari would have taken off as soon as it got ahead of the Mercedes, but the Mercedes obviously proving that it's definitely not that slow. This is just a preview version of the game as well, so performances will change, but definitely Hamilton able to keep up and hold Sainz behind him for now. But it's final lap of the race, lap 36 of 36. I've had a really great time driving this car, even though it's not as quick as the Mercedes or the Red Bull or Ferrari. I had a great time in this race, but for now it's going to be Hamilton and Sainz duking it out for the lead of this race. That's where all the action is, and it looks like Sainz is going to get Hamilton heading down into turn 4. It looks like he's going to keep the position this time, and I don't think Hamilton will have an answer for the rest of the track, because it would take something pretty extraordinary for the AI to make a move around here against a faster car without the use of DRS. We've only got some corners remaining, and it looks like Sainz is going to bring home the race win. We're going to come home in P3. It's a double Spaniard podium, and yeah, what a race. This one was really enjoyable, more enjoyable for me than the British and the Miami Grand Prix. I enjoyed coming from the back of the grid, making up as many positions as possible in the sprint race, where we went up to 8th place to start the Grand Prix. Leclerc, Verstappen and Perez were pretty much nowhere in that race, so I'm surprised Leclerc got driver of the day. Might be because he made up some positions. Sainz also had that spin, so a great recovery from him to come back from front wing damage after the pit stop. Was pretty convenient timing for his pit stop to then, you know, overtake us and then Hamilton to claim the race win. But yeah, it's cool to see another podium sequence where the Codemasters have put the effort into a cutscene where you can actually see the track details specific to the area, so you can obviously tell that this is in Austria. But once again, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you have any comments, leave them in the comment section below, and I'll see you all in a brand new video.